Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy Base the Kid. As always, like, subscribe, share. Friends, colleagues, relatives, close or otherwise, associates and enemies and anything in between, I appreciate it all. Also, get someone to purchase a membership because we got those now. Got a few members on the channel already, so there was some members only content that dropped on Monday. There's 3 tiers, so you gotta be 2nd tier and above to get the members only stuff, but you get everything else. I got something else dropping later on today or possibly first thing tomorrow morning as well. Now I have to apologize because I wanted to do this video yesterday, but tiredness caught me on a different level, so I was pretty much faded the entire night. So I'm doing it now. Plus there's other content that will be dropping as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So over the week we've had quite a bit of a saga going on between the whole Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte rematch. Dillian went on TalkSport last week to talk about it. Now I didn't really want to get too involved in it because I thought the fight's either going to happen or it's not, but things are happening. So I thought, okay, let me see where I sort of rank in this and what I kind of think's going on. So here's the issue initially from what Dillian said. First thing he said is that he got sent a contract. The contract was for very low money, but then there was radio silence from Eddie Hearn and that afterwards. Okay, so he said, look, I know how Eddie operates. Normally he send you a number, it's always a lower number, you do a little dance and then you get closer to a number that you're more happy with, and then other things. Whereas Eddie Hearn came back and said, well look, this is the offer, like there isn't any room to negotiate, there's no, this is max, this is kind of where it's at. So anyway, now apparently Dillian's asking, well, why are we doing it in August when people go on holiday that time? Why is it in the O2 and not on arena and blah blah blah? So first things first, the reason it's not in an arena is because U2 ain't the draw that he used to be, and at the time of the year it's in August because he's got a big payday coming in December. Like, that's factual. But we're gonna skip past all that now because it went from not being enough money to, oh, there's stuff that they didn't get back to us. So Eddie went back to Dillian, and apparently now the issue was, well, now the contract that you sent before, you sent a different contract with different rules and different stipulations. So almost trying to long it out to the point where you then say, oh well, we ain't got enough time to do this fight, but here's the new opponent instead. So I guess Dillian is accusing Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua of essentially doing like a Tyson Fury tactic, where you'll send the contract and then you make all of these demands and you have all these things in such a bad way that it can't get done, so you just have to move on to someone else, and oh, we tried to fight this person but it didn't quite happen. Well, you see, the problem with that is, with the best of respect, and this obviously coming from someone that's a very 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 big Dillian Whyte fan, like, it's very hard for me to say, but Dillian is not the draw. In this scenario, AJ versus Dillian is not the fight anyone cares to see, like, right now, especially when both have still got other things going on, other things that they actually need to do and accomplish. For Anthony Joshua, he needs to see Deontay Wilder. That's like the fight that eluded him his whole career, and it's one of the few fights he will always be tarnished with if it never happens. That one and the Fury fight. Dillian, on the other hand, well, obviously he needs Wilder as well, because that's the one fight he campaigned for and called out for five long years, 6 years, however long it was, all in all. So he's got that on the agenda, but there's still other names. He needs to prove that he's still got it at like top levels against like the guys, either the guys that just coming up or the guys that are kind of in and around that periphery. But outside of all of that, monetarily, this fight isn't as big. It's always going to be a big fight, but it's not as big as I think Dillian thinks it is. Anyway, let's fast forward again, because he says, well, there's a rematch clause in there. I didn't want a rematch clause. I don't want to be tied into anything. It should be winner take all. If I win, I get to go to Saudi. Big man, Saudi never invited you. Like, they didn't invite Andy Ruiz, they didn't invite Joe Joyce or Zhang or Makhmadov, Hergovich, like, you know, Jared Anderson, Big Baby. Like, it's weird how Dillian thinks that beating Anthony Joshua equates to taking his spot in Saudi Arabia. If they didn't invite you in the first place, why would they now put you there? It doesn't make any sense. And it's not like, oh, well, I took AJ's O, so now I get to go. No, because he already had 3 losses. And they still wanted him over everything else. So that whole situation just seems mad. Anyway, we get a bit of an update on that now, because Dillian said, well, I don't want no contract with a rematch clause. I want to be able to beat him and move on with my career. Well, earlier on today, Anthony Joshua's team took out the rematch clause. They said, yeah, okay, cool, we'll take out the rematch clause. So what's the issue now? So here's the thing. And I always backed Dillian on the 2019 thing where he was offered the Anthony Joshua thing, but he was like, look, realistically, they didn't make, he says that they never made him an offer, but I think what he means is they never made him like a proper offer that was supposed to be accepted, because obviously they offered him a certain amount of money, and then lo and behold, like, Jarrell Miller ended up getting 3 million more, like, for the US fight, plus some other things obviously before that all caved in. So I always I heard the full story of that one and I backed that. However, on this particular occasion, you're not the same draw that you used to be, neither is he. He's got other plans he wants to get on with, so it's either you're gonna take the fight probably at a time when he's not even that focused on you, which means there's actually a better opportunity for you to get your revenge and possibly have the opportunity to do it down the line, or you don't take the fight, probably get a third of that payday against anyone else, because the Joyce fight ain't gonna pay you no more after you got beat by Zhang. Even if he beats him, that the value of that fight still gone down. The Dubois fight and all the others same. So if you don't take that fight now, I can't look at it as anything other than a duck, because the one thing you went on TalkSport and spoke about specifically was the rematch clause. Well, now they took it out, so there's no other excuse apart from, alright, let's do this, let's get in the ring August 12th at the O2 and they all hang out. Anything about, oh no, it needs to be 2 weeks later so we can go in the stage, and like, no, we don't need to hear none of that. At this point in time, if you two do well enough or you beat him, maybe you can get the stadium fight in the third one next year or the year after, and it's like, you know, the end of the road fight between the two of you and draw in a crowd that way, whatever type of stadium it might be. But it ain't gonna be Wembley, we know that. It might not even be Tottenham Hotspur. You might need like a 35,000 seater stadium or something, as opposed to like a 60. But anyway, look, the rematch clause is out now, so if Dillian don't take it, there's no other excuses, and we just gotta call it what it is, that he don't want the fight. Now, I've always believed he does want that, so I don't believe that is the case, but I won't have any other choice but to come to that assessment if this fight don't get made, because something else went right in the contract, or something else went right in the contract. But let's see. I guess a bit of good news in the heavyweight division. We got the rematch signed and sealed. Gillet Zhang, or Zhang Gillet versus Joe Joyce 2, now taking place at OVO Arena in Wembley. Okay, so on one hand, I'm happy it's happening. Like, you know, Joyce trying to get redemption for the first fight. I understand that and I appreciate that, and it will be a good fight. It's happening at Wembley. Look, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of the OVO. Like, not the arena itself is a fine look. I have to go there for events all the time. Like, I'm going there for a 50 Cent event later on in the year because I couldn't get tickets to the O2 one. I've gone there for like WWE events. I've gone there for concerts. Like, it's a nice venue, but in this day and age of London, it's the worst place in the world for me to try and get to. It takes me nearly 2 hours to get there, and that's leaving, you know, within decent time. So imagine you have to bake 2 hours into your journey time to get there, but then coming home, depending on the time, it's normally about 45 minutes, which isn't terrible. 45-50 minutes. but it's that 2 hours. Do you know what I could be doing? I could be making extra videos in that 2 hours, but I've got to do the travel. So I might apply for the press accreditations for that one. I'm not 100% sure. I might purchase tickets, or I might just stay home and watch it on the TV. It's a good fight though. I'm hoping that the undercard is solid. You know, the last one had a pretty decent undercard. Well, decent for me. I enjoyed the fights that was there. I know some other people had issues, but I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, overall, I'm happy this fight signed. It's a shame it's not back at the Copper Box. I would have preferred that. But hey, I don't get to choose these things, unfortunately. But yeah, let's see if Joyce can, you know, can right the wrongs of the last fight. I'm not so sure he can, but we'll see. Let's talk about this Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder situation. So Deontay Wilder came out with this very stylized video that I'm sure we all saw a couple of days ago, telling Andy Ruiz, come take your shot, you know, don't let your daddy ruin your career. Like, come, let's give this one to the fans, let's make this fight, we need to do this fight, like we've been waiting for time and blah blah blah. So Andy Ruiz Sr. comes back and basically says that Deontay Wilder's a liar, that like, I'm not holding anything up, but you've basically offered him, I think he said he actually offered him less or the same amount of money that he got for the Luis Ortiz fight. I think that's what he said. He said essentially the split is supposed to be like 70-30 in Deontay Wilder's favor, and they're like, well no, we want 50-50. Now here's the funny thing. Who's the bigger draw out of the two? You probably, by a smidge, would probably say it's Wilder, because he's, you know, he had the 3 Fury fights. But then you say, well, Andy Ruiz has had the whole of Mexico behind him, the Mexican American fan base, made a shitload of money with Anthony Joshua in the second fight, made more in the first fight than Deontay Wilder was making pre Luis Ortiz the first time around. Then you look at, okay, pay-per-views. Well, Deontay Wilder's last pay-per-views allegedly did 75,000. Luis Ortiz and Ruiz did about 65. But Ruiz's one with Chris Arreola, which is his first one back after the loss, supposedly did about 100 to 110. So they're not that far away in terms of pay-per-view numbers, you know, outside of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. But outside of all of that, alright, let's say that Deontay Wilder is the A-side, longest reigning champion, held belts for longer than what Andy Ruiz has done. Andy Ruiz won more belts but only held the belts for 6 months. But how badly does Deontay Wilder want the fight? Like, if he actually wants to take this fight, he might just have to give up the 50-50. And we can't, you know, we can't really do the moaning, oh, well, Andy doesn't deserve it, because did Deontay Wilder deserve 50-50 against AJ when AJ was making 20 million, like 15 to 20 million pounds a fight, and Deontay Wilder was making about $2.5 million, but they wanted 50-50 at that point. So I guess all's fair. You know, I guess Andy Ruiz is just doing to Deontay Wilder what Deontay Wilder was trying to do to AJ back in the day. And this is probably like a bit more even, because the disparity between Wilder and Joshua at that time was that the disparity between like Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder is probably just that. And I don't even know who's on who. I don't even know which side is which. So yeah, let's see, how much do you really want it, D? Like, ultimately you gotta take that money, give him the 50-50, see if you can maybe negotiate 55-45, 60-40 if you get that favorable terms. But I mean, hey, like I say, man, your own medicine never tastes that nice. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I hope both of them get the fights in, because ultimately they need activity. Joshua probably needs it a little bit less than Wilder at this point, but Wilder ain't been in the ring since November last year. At least Josh had been in the ring, you know, this year, so it's not as bad. But either way, time's ticking, so hurry up. I guess lastly, let's end on this. So Simon Jordan came out on TalkSport a couple of days ago and said he's got a very reliable source, a credible source, that is telling him that the Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury fight will not be taking place in December in Saudi Arabia. So basically it won't be taking place this year. The source apparently didn't write off to say it wouldn't happen at all, but it's not taking place this year. Now, I'm not actually surprised by that. I'll tell you why I'm not surprised by that. Mainly, if you remember back last year when Joshua and Usyk in the rematch were supposed to fight in June, then it got pushed to July, then it got pushed to August, and I think it was towards the start of August, or like August 20th, or might have been August 20th. Then at that point, Usyk came out and said, you know, tough fight, had a little bit of injuries, been away from home for a little while, like, I want to rest, we can do the undisputed fight in February the following year. It's supposed to be February, March this year, and we all know what happened there. Well, his fight with Daniel Dubois was initially scheduled for the 12th of August, and it got pushed back to August the 26th to coincide with Ukraine Independence Day or something like that. So then, if he was saying that he had tough camp and everything, he was in training for so long for the Joshua fight and couldn't take the Tyson Fury fight at the end of December last year, how did we then think that he was probably gonna jump back into another camp, you know, 3 and a bit months later to take on Fury this year? Now, maybe he would, but the history tells you that from him since 2019 he hasn't fought more than once a year in the last couple. So I mean, what do we really say? It probably is likely, and this one may actually be more on Usyk than Fury in this particular instance. Although Tyson Fury and Frank Warren say, oh, there's a major announcement about to take place within the next week or so regarding something that he's got planned, but I'm assuming that's probably going to be September-ish. So would he be fit and able to take place in December, or is that part of the reason why it's not going to take place, because he's not prepared to do a quick 14-week turnaround from one fight to another? I don't particularly know. I don't know where Simon Jordan got the information from, but if it all checks out to be the case, I mean, it's just another hurdle. Although I did hear that regardless of anything, Usyk will be fighting in Saudi Arabia in December, whether it's Tyson Fury or not. So I can at that point only assume that if it's not going to be Tyson Fury, it would have to be Filip Hrgović, which is the IBF mandatory, which is the next one to be called in the cycle, because the WBO isn't actually due yet. And even if it was, I mean, Zhang and Joyce are fighting for that in September, so they're not going to be prepared, or they're not going to turn around in December anyway. So yeah, I don't think he would get away with doing a voluntary at that point. So I think he would have to fight another mandatory and get that out of the way, because the IBF was called previously. So well, I guess it's either Fury or Hrgović for Usyk in December, but let's see how everything plays out. I'm hoping that we can get to undisputed, but to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Usyk's just going to have to accept that he's got 3 of the major 4 belts, and that's about as good as it's going to get for him as a heavyweight champ. Sad times, but it is what it is. Anyway, look, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. As again, like, subscribe, share, sign up for those memberships. Number 1, if you can afford it. Number 2, if you see value in the channel as it is at the moment. Things will be changing. There may be another video dropping tonight that's not members only, but there will definitely be a members only video dropping between tonight and tomorrow morning. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. For right now, it's the Hardcore Casual out.